glad to see you all, and sorry for this tech issue. Again, thank you all for joining us today in our workshop 4, and welcome back to all the super high potential teams that are going through this wonderful journey with the tech team. So before we, on behalf again of the Create Apps Championship team, thank you very much, all of you, for keeping up and working on a daily basis every week to submit your milestone, and keeping up on the journey and on the accelerator. So if before I hand over to the technical team, if you want to pass the slides, please, for me, I will go through the housekeeping rules. Okay. So just as a reminder, as every week, please keep your mic mute. If you have any questions, something to say, this doesn't mean that you cannot participate, not at all. Indeed, we want to hear you all. So you only have to raise your hand, and Fawaz, Minet, Tunet, they will hand over to you. So please, just to avoid any background noise, just keep your mic mute and raise your hand if you have any questions. Always the chat is open also for questions. So if you don't want to interrupt and continue with the flow of the session, please ask your questions on the chat. As always, in any case, we will have a slot at the end of the session for Q&A. So you also can take note or leave your questions at the end, because we will dedicate some time to answer all your questions. Next, please. And obviously respect the space and respect the questions that everybody has to ask. As a suggestion, and as we always said, please join from your PC or your laptop, because we will be sharing on the chat some links and different resources, so it will be easier for all of you if you join them through the computer. But keep your phone close to you, because we will be also sharing some QR codes for you to scan and do some Mentimeters. Please, this is very important, because we use all of these insights, and we use this, your opinion, your questions, to elaborate and work on the next workshop. So please try to participate as much as possible. And last but not least, don't forget to rename your name in Zoom with using the format your name / your app name. That is the way that the team can keep the control of the attendees. As you very well know by now, the workshop is mandatory. Doesn't mean that the full team has to be here, but at least one team member. So we really need to know who are the teams that are missing and who are the teams that are showing up every week and working hard. So please rename yourself, and don't forget to put the app name. And I think that is everything so far. So today we have Fawaz and Tuan, but I know that Mine is here also. So please, thank you, the team, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Carmen. Thank you very much. Hi, everyone. How are you all? And welcome to the 4th workshop to make sure we go on the testing and all of it. So before we get into anything technical, right? How is it so far? I'm going to give you one word on the chat to put it, right? So you've started, we're on the week 4, the MVP one-to-one discussions, couple of workshops were done. How do you feel in terms of, if you want to put it anything in one word? Yes, chat is open. But love to see those word cloud about how you feel with week 4 or workshop 4. Amazing, Mohammed. Thank you very much from Deep Loop. Amazing. So that gives a lot of confidence. You're excited, Arij. Yes. I've seen some of your updates in your apps. Yes, amazing. Keep going. Tang, yes, supercharged. Dominic, on track. Okay, Dominic on track is great. So I want everybody to be on track. And Camila excited, Ariza excited, happy with the progress. Michelle, thank you very much. And yes, Tang, Ting Tang, yes, beautiful. So that's it. Do I have anything more? Fantastic, Bahar, thank you. Excited, Amal, nice, right? Anything more? So if the rest of you, if you want to use the reaction about how you feel, show some expression that I would love to see on the slides. Like if there's any reactions that you want to give. Okay, Arij, yes, beautiful. Thank you very much. Hassin, thank you. Mohammed, Tasneem, thank you very much, Mohammed. Dominic, yes. Now, let's keep moving, minute. Let's keep it to the next. So with this excitement, right? Happy progress, excitement, fantastic is all what we want to do is make sure that you are following a journey map towards the success of getting your app published. So we are right now on the week 4 and going through these particular workshops to understand how the final preparation and submissions can all work. And then we are going to have a break. The next workshop is going to be on a 2 weeks break, post by 2 weeks, literally. And then that's the time that we need to have everything ready. Right? I know most of you are on the right progress, right track. Some of you might be ahead, some of you might be behind the schedule. So that's the 2 weeks we're gonna make sure we are all chasing the deadlines ahead of time. Yes, let's keep moving. So with the deadline of having this published on no before a month from now. Right. So we testing, feedback, and refinement, right? These are important process in any journey of startup, any journey of creating a impact out there. Could be a mobile app, through a system, digitalized approach, anything. Testing takes two components. One is your consumer relevance, your market share relevance, product market fit we talk about, and then you talk about testing for the feedback on the systems, is number of users or the different access control types and all of it. And then how do you get feedback from the market, from the technical, and the refinement? When you refine based on these testing feedbacks, when you refine it based on the technology versus based on what the consumers and the customers or your users might have to. Here we're going to take this more depth because it's a tech accelerator program, right? So we're going to take the more depth towards the technical feasibility of testing, technical feedbacks, and technical refinement so that we are very laser focused about getting your first version of MVP published. Right, let's keep moving, Minat. So what the holistic overview on why we are doing this is, remember this particular cycle of build, test, fix, and update. This is applicable throughout, not just for your first build and release. Even after that, you are building, testing, fixing, and update. That is why you see any app has multiple releases of update. So you, from a startup to enterprise, when you move, this is an important approach. Whatever you're practicing right now, you go through a technical hurdle and you decide you like bring the feature down, you test it, it doesn't work. So you roll back, roll out, same thing is going to be there. But must more important is what is your first version of MVP, because from there only you're going to keep scaling and growing. And validation testing and quality testing, what's the difference? Like sometimes you, as I said, we validate the idea and also we quality test this particular system's approach and evaluate and actionable feedback. Most importantly, understand the Android processes and the iOS processes, where Android has a 14 days close testing if you do not have an enterprise account or a developer account which is dated before 2022. And the iOS testing, we are test flight and the best practices, what could be done and what defines a true production readiness. What is the best way or what is the most applicable way, being an entrepreneur with limited time and limited resources sometimes? What is the production readiness that you can click and submit that particular app? Let's keep moving. Right. So with that, let's get into an icebreaker. Let's take the mobile phone. As Carmen said, that's what we ask you to join from the PC and have a mobile phone. And what is the biggest risk before launch? What do you think is the biggest risk before the launch? Let's give everyone some time. I'm scanning it too. Yes. Yes, thank you, Carmen. Please scan the QR code. I'm going to stay in the slide for some time. And what is the biggest risk before you launch? Can be anything. Do you think is it your technology? Is it you think the mobile app? Or yes, but yeah. What is the biggest risk before the launch? What do you think? Yes. Let's go next. Scan, see what we got. Yes. Beautiful. Okay. User focused development. Okay. Scope of the features. Yes, sometimes the biggest risk before the launch is the scope of the features. Sometimes we launch to the wrong market. Blocking bugs. Yes, seemingly it's working, but when it's published, it might crash. Rejections. Yes, when you, because it's the first time some of you are submitting an app. Yes, there is, we are working on a tight deadline. If there's rejection, can hold on a different wavelength to the timeline, definitely. Not having the app ready. Okay, come on. That's what we have this particular thing. We are going to work together. We are on a one team on that. Underdeveloped and errors. Yes, sometime with the anticipated project timeline, we think that we could have developed, but we've not. And that's more important. App Store is not going to approve anything which is not complete, right? User focused. Minat, can we refresh the page again if you have many more responses? Yes. Yes, we do have, there's undefined errors, rejection from the store. Yes, thank you. So these are some of the risk, right? So, but the most important risk during the launch that I've seen is we scale it. We just don't think about more people downloading about it. We don't think about infrastructure scaling. We have really probably would have done a quick fix. Some, for example, authentication is required, but it takes times or it takes a different subscription. We would have avoided it, right? So something like that might be some of the risk too. Yes, let's keep moving. So about testing apps, right? Now, okay, I would like anyone to unmute or even put it on the chat. You as an app entrepreneur behind the app, when somebody says testing your app, what is the first thing that comes to your mind? Market, technology, or UI, UX, like usability. Mohammed, beautiful. Thank you, Mohammed. Nice. What else? I need more. I know some there's like brilliant ideas being cooked here. So I would like to know more. And since no bugs, yes, very good. When you think about testing the app, it's all about no bugs. Arij, use it from a user perspective and what potentially lacks. Shalom, beautiful security, right? So sometime testing app is also about if there is sensible data, especially in health and education. Now the data has become privacy of the kids, all of it. Smoothness, yes, Mohammed, yes, yes, Dominic, smoothness, beautiful. Getting real value, functional, Bahar, very good, right? Intuitiveness. So, what does this mean? Testing app is all about being ready to use, right? Post production, you're just doing your QA, right? So, let's keep going. Beautiful. Thank you very much for all the wonderful feedback. Let's go keep moving. The testing the logic, main idea behind the yes, Amal, absolutely. So, why testing is important is for three important reasons. As I said, I'm going to keep wearing this hat of technicality, and I'm going to wear the hat of technicality. Now, poor UI or confusing UX, right? This is going to impact your approval process also. If your user flow, user engineering is not complete, it might not be colorful, it might not be very vision, it might be not animated, but it can't be illogical. It can't be broken approach. It can't be like you're lost in middle. Okay, you went, signed up, okay, there's no button to come back or something like that, right? So poor UI or confusing UX is going to work completely in disadvantage for you in both the front. One in the market, one the other one in the approval process of either iOS or Google Play Store. Frequent bugs and crashes and ANRs, especially it's very important to understand how these crashes happens. Why frequent bugs? Especially when you go these live demonstrations and the bugs happens, you understand this is only on the local environment, even there is bug. When you go live, hosting environment, things can change. So it's very important to test it on a real world environment. As I always say, there is no way either customer or the Apple Store or a Play Store gonna accept an incomplete or a broken user flow. Golden entry, golden exit. You should be able to enter your app, complete whatever you intend to make, and there should be a way to exit, right? So that I always call it as the complete flow. Think about you are having a golden entry, visionary, like very impactful, very thoughtful for relevance audience. There's a golden entry and also golden exit. Yes, let's keep moving. Importance of MVP testing, right? So for me, I'll just tell you what is MVP testing for me, right? Imagine if I want to make an electronic ticketing counter where you put a ticket on this side, it's processed, records, and it comes from the other side, right? So this is the minimum MVP. We can do sensors and all of it later, but very basic. There's no human involved. Gate, you put a card, gate opens, it authenticates you, and you go, and the card comes from the other side. Imagine the first thing is, can we do it as a human? Yes, somebody take the uh, card, check this is a real human, validated it, checklist, and give the card on this side. Now that's the logic, right? Make sure the app's core idea is not deviated. Sometimes we get so excited with some process. For this same approach, we might say the facial recognition is important. But maybe it's not possible to have a facial recognition if that particular place has a lot more tourists. There should be a way of different identification. So the core idea, so that we don't waste effort in terms of getting into the world of technological options. Reduce risk and cost by identifying bugs and the usability issues sooner. Now, sometimes it's not only time, it's also the money. Not just only the development cost, might be also infrastructure cost. Because today we talk about a lot of AI features, right? GPUs, Gemini tokens, OpenAI tokens, or different LLMs, learning models tokens we are talking about. So sometimes illogical or some bugs can eat more. Gain real user insights. And these real user insights are not our friends. Our friends are going to be always be nice, unless they really wanted to be not so nice. They're going to be, hey, this works, they very well go and no. You need a real user insights for a data-driven decision making, the stakeholders. And that's why you need to be available up there on the app, right? Accelerate time to market and track, build, measure, learn cycle. Most of you, it could be the first time. So that cycle is very important, right? Let's keep moving. I'm so excited to see all these 36 apps up live there. Now, we talked about a little bit of importance of MVP testing. How do you reduce the risk of cost token consumption? Are there any techniques used to identify that? Yes, Mohammed. There are quite a lot of matrices. If you go to the Google Cloud infrastructure, you can identify what tokens, where it's being utilized, especially if you're using Gemini tokens, right? And you also understand leakages sometime. Because trust me, we build even landing pages only for specific events for certain days. I think there was an activity event done for one of these programs lately, only for that activity. So every time you give an inquiry, it's going to cost you, right? But we monitor, and once that program is down, we make sure that that API is no more connected. So these are processes, fundamental processes that you are very aware what tokens, what API you have used for what places in your app. So usually I look at the matrix of cost per user, right? And you be very conscious about if it is a freemium user, how many options have you given? They might use, they might not use. But you as an entrepreneur needs to understand, is there any other AI framework, technical cost involved, even if the user doesn't pay you? If you use any automation processes, usually your analytics is the best option. But Azure, AWS, immaterial of what are the cloud infrastructure you use, also has these particular features of tracking the external APIs you use. And there are multi-vendor platforms where you can connect all your AI tokens and understand the usability. But that's also a paid service. I think that problem more comes when you have more users. It's about optimizing, make sure that your conversion cycles are increasing. Right? Let's take the phone, scan the QR code. But Mohammed, good question. Thank you. Let's scan the QR code. What should be MVP in the visual design, app completeness, releasing new updates? Let's give it some time. Let's think about it. what could be should be focusing first? What updates do we have? Brilliant. Amazing. Okay. App completeness, adding more features, and also I've got releasing new updates. And team, very humble request I would like to make. These are programs can I would really use to make sure that everybody remember me if I was a participant. That will be part of engagement. This might help how engaging you are, how active you are. Maybe sometimes your videos are on when you're asking questions. Imagine to have that particular entrepreneurial drive in you to utilize such a forum to position. So I humbly would request you to engage as much as possible to get your names there, not just artificially, but genuinely, right? That engagement and interaction will help you a lot. And I can tell you stories how it has helped me. Right. Let's keep going. So I think the most important is the app completeness, as you correctly, most of you have said. Adding more features is not the MVP testing score first, unless it demands you have identified an iteration process that you are feeling this feature is very important, but not going on and adding feature as a mode. Polishing visual design is it's like icing on the cake. Good if you have enough time to do that, but doesn't make a difference in terms of the content of it, apart from the whole ambience that you create, elegance you create. App completeness is what you really should focus. Golden entry, golden exit. You download the app, how do you use the app, how do you purchase, use, service, stream, whatever you're providing, and then how do I end the service and how do I exit the app, right? Releasing new update is good during the testing phases, but MVP focuses most on the app completeness. Thank you very much. Let's keep moving, Minat. Now, usually we have seen a major part of rejection and the MVP issues. The testing most must catch. Easier way is to catch is you catch it from a UI UX issues, bugs, crashes, incomplete or broken features. Now there is this good way to understand the incomplete or the broken features. Sometimes we have this coming soon. Definitely not possible. You can't have any features coming soon. Either you have it or don't have it. Once you are ready to have it, you release an update and announce it. So only what it can perform should have. There is no anticipation, future forecasting. This is not your pitch deck, right? So this is your product, MVP product. This is not your pitch deck to give future promises. So what is there is what is there. And this usually falls into these three main categories, and that's also UI UX issue majorly comes in terms of navigations. So UI UX issue is not about the color palettes, right? Yes, color palettes makes a difference. If it is a kids market, you better be very kids friendly color paletting, branding guidelines. That's a different zone. But I'm talking about navigation. Can somebody navigate? Can the particular click next button can be seen, right? And also the sometimes there's unclear actions. You have thought an emoji might help or icon might help if the icon is not a popular icon, if the icon is not on the common communication nomenclature or digital conventions. Sometimes people don't understand, right? So it might be an unclear actions. Sometimes inconsistent layout. You have the first layout on this, and when you move to second layout, something is cut out and it's small, right? And lack of feedback. Sometimes error messages, right? For example, you want to give a negative message. Again, some good part of UX is about how do you give a negative message in a very positive way. For example, you didn't complete the step, or for example, that was wrong, right? So there are a lot of ways that you can actually make this more easier, comfortable for the users to come. The app freezes is mostly comes on the bugs and crashes. Most towards I have seen the infrastructure. If you have not configured your database to sync infrastructure, cloud environment, these freezes happens because your system is trying to communicate, but it's not establishing. What do you mean by lack of feedback? Isn't that the users can't send a feedback about the app feature? Should we have it on our first MVP launch? Bahar, the feedback is actually from two angles. One, You can look it at us from us when you do this particular 14 days close testing. And also, there are feedbacks given by the Google Play Store during the rejection, if there is a rejection, and all of it. Handling them is very important, but do not worry, we're going to give you feedbacks, right? So either on test flights or even on the Android close testing, we've got a whole testers provided to you to give you that. Do not worry about it. Let's keep moving. And incomplete is all about end to end to make sure it's working very well. Any one of these can cause the users to abandon the app, deploy or block production approval, lead a poor review or bad user experience. Now, for me, the most critical part is if this any of these things is affecting the second component, delaying or block the production approval. That's the most concerning for us in this competition. Yes, it might cause the users to abandon the app. You can always do a new release because you are immediately not going to do anything about it. But lead to poor review and bad user experience also when you launch the app and when there's a marketing happening, when there's a promotion happening. And trust me, you are going to be getting a wonderful opportunities at the Dubai Future Foundation to exhibit this, right? Before that, this needs to be better. But before all of those, you need to be approved. So remember, you can't have navigation issues which you can fall under UI UX. You can't have bugs and freezes, and then you can't have income which can delay or block our production approval. Let's keep moving. Right. Let's see. I all what I want is to not just look at this content, think on the testing hat. As I said, more the testing you do, it can help your market penetration. And also the more the test you do, it can help you to improve the product. Let's take the phone, scan the QR code. Remember something that I said? If I were you, I will capitalize each and every engagement opportunity to remember. By this time, I definitely remember at least few names on this workshop. Bahar for asking questions, Amal, and then Dominic has been responding throughout. Shalom, Arij. So likewise, I can keep telling. So I want to make sure all of you are getting on the same way of keep engaging. Right, take your phones, scan the QR code. Which questions does validation testing answer? Does this crash? Is it the question the validation testing answers? Does this block the usage? Is this useful and meaningful to users? Does this meet the store guidelines? What do you think the validation testing is answered? Let's give it a few minutes. Beautiful. I'm sure most thinking happening. Let's give that time of thinking. Beautiful. Right, let's refresh. Wow. I have, is this useful and meaningful to users? 3. Does this meet store guidelines? 6. And does this block usage? 5. And does this crash? Okay. Can I refresh again, Mina, please? Just wanted to see if there's more responses down the line. Okay, yes, there's only a few changes. I think very straightforward as the answer is just there. The validation testing answers is this useful and meaningful to users. That's your validation testing, not your technical validation. And we will be doing the close testing, focusing on the meet the store guidelines. Validation is all about is it useful, right? Let's keep moving. The testing, feedback, and update cycle. I think this is that you need to freeze in your mind, right? When you build something, you build, iterate that and build. This is also part of design thinking, right? You build, you test, collect feedback either you from users or technical feedback. Based on it fixed, go back, update your Play Store, App Store, and repeat. Skipping this loop will always lead to assumption, not the learning. And we sometimes, I personally have sometime overridden testing. When we put some products to African markets down the line, We have like due to the timelines, we have like skipped a huge part of testing, and we have figured out the localization could have been better, and we would have accelerated the market if you have done those testing and if you have collected the feedback. Because like they, if you know, Africa has a lot of local languages, and M-Pesa is their payment, right? For example. Now, why I say this? This is always relevant. It can reduce risk, also can optimize the opportunity for you. Improves quality stability gradually, prevent large unstable releases, and you can also get AI to do some of these features, which we can talk about the final workshop about scaling. Let's keep going. Right. So with that, I would like to get Tuan involved for to take you through some type of testing. Right. So before we go to the type of testing to get into this, are we all clear? Give me a thumbs up if you think, yes, testing is crucial and it works. You understood what I say. We are in sync? Yes? Brilliant. Wonderful. Thank you very much. And as I said, no matter what happens across the world, we gonna have your idea come into reality with a greater passion, because we believe all your ideas coming into reality, the world will be a better, peaceful place to be. That's why we need more of you. Thank you. Tuan, over to you until I come back for the last session.
Thanks, Paul. So before we begin, how hyped up are you for the rest of the session? I hope everyone understood everything up till now. Just give me a thumbs up if you're ready. All right. Thanks, Bahar. Thanks, Bahar. Thanks, Muhammad. All right, minute. Let's go on to the next slide. Start with types of testing. So there are mainly two types of testing. First is the validation, which we kind of covered prior, and the quality testing. So although these both are types of testing, they actually serve two separate purposes, and they are normally followed in an MVP scope. So validation testing is basically what we do to confirm what basically an app needs, or what the users understand, and what the core features are. So mainly when it comes to validation testing, we test out the features. It's like we can take, for example, a medical application. So in a medical app, we have our main requirements, right? Whether a doctor or a patient can view their particular data. So say if we have a detection system, like a pneumonia detection system, what do you think is the main important feature in a system like that? Any guesses, anyone? When it comes to a pneumonia detection system, what is like the main feature, do you think? Just give me answers. It doesn't matter if it's right or wrong. I just want you all to give me your guesses. Heartbeat, all right. Oh. All right. Any other answers? Come on, guys. If it's just, it doesn't have to be exactly against pneumonia. So if it's a medical application, do you think, okay, let me rephrase the question. If it's a medical application, do you think the animation of the system, like maybe like a UI animation, is as important as the accuracy of a ML model? Just yes or no? No, no. Exactly. Because when it comes to a medical system, it's more important for the system to accurately predict whether, say, pneumonia is there in that particular patient or not, than how well it can show like an animation or whatever. So this is what validation testing is for. We test out whether the features in the app are actually relevant or are actually needed for the MVP process. So it's like this, having a good animation or good UI is vital, all right? It is important. I'm not saying it's not. But when it comes to an MVP or a medical project at home, you need to get your main features sorted before you go into any other features. This is what validation testing is for. We test out whether these particular features that are existing in the application are actually needed to be there or not. Because you can have 100 features, but if you can't get the essentials right, the app, if it does not serve its proper purpose, there's no point of that app existing. It's very important that we get the core features right before we will move on to the additional features. So that's basically about validation testing. So the next type of testing we have is quality testing. So what is quality testing? So it basically confirms whether the app works reliably. So now that we've kind of confirmed the features that we have, we need to ensure that each feature works. There's no point of including, say, if I was to take the medical example, there's no point having a X-ray, what do you call it, an X-ray view feature if it doesn't even work when you click on the button to view it. So basically, what we do in quality testing is where we test out the application. We test whether the app crashes or not, and whether it actually gives the desired output. So this is basically the main two types of testing we cover in this particular testing phase. So for an MVP validation, basically, again, let me reiterate this, it focuses on ensuring that each feature in the application is relevant. And quality testing ensures that these features actually work as intended. 2 minutes, can you go to the next slide, please? Right. So before we go into the other stuff, I just want you all to quickly take out your phones and scan this QR code. I'll give you all a minute, so take your time and just answer the question. Why should most early MVPs start with a private beta? Just scan this code and give me your answers. I'll give you all a minute. You can go forward. Right. Just give me your answers. I think, shall we? Yeah. Yes. Oh, that's interesting to see. I think all of us got the answer right. So at least now I kind of get that you're like following through with everything. That's good to see. So yes, it is really risky for public exposure because it's like this. It's always best to test out features privately before we give it to the public audience. Because especially when it comes to the modern world with cyber attacks and everything, we cannot include a feature that is data sensitive and have any bugs in that particular feature in which anyone can easily access it and may use it for their own good. So it's always better to test these things out in the private beta so that we know it's basically we must test out these features privately as it's always much safer than giving it to a public exposure. And it avoids requiring feedback that's wrong, it avoids multiple updates wrong, and 5 stars wrong. So this is the only viable answer. And it's really great to see that everyone got it right. I mean, can we be moving? All right, now we'll be moving on to the feedback, prioritization, and actionable steps. This is an extremely important and interesting chapter. So before we begin, does everyone understand the difference between validation and quality testing? Can I get some thumbs up in the chat? Right, each that's good, worldwide AI on track. Altogether, team, deep loop, all right, all right, good. Lots of thumbs up. So let's keep it going. So gathering actionable feedback. So it's like this. Feedback is always important, but we always must make sure that we get feedback that's actually followable and is actually relevant to the cause. So good feedback for an application is normally comes from real usage because it's like this. I can't give you feedback on that that I didn't even test. Like besides, I might know what your app does, but I can't give you feedback on it if I don't know how it actually, without any actually testing it out and see whether okay, this feature actually goes from point A to point B. So good feedback always comes from testers who actually use the application, and then it's actually based on me actually interfering with the system, actually using and kind of figure out whether the user flows work. And then it must always be marked extremely clear. It's one of the actual most important things of giving feedback or pointing out a bug is actually to show how to recreate that particular bug. Because like you might be facing an issue, I might face the issue while using the application. But I can't say I am facing this issue and I can't just put it in text and send it to you. It is extremely vital that I actually give you the advice on how I got this particular bug. Yeah, I show you the user flow that I have to follow to get this bug. Because there's no way for you to test it out unless I tell you, all right, this is what I did and I got this bug. Because or else it'll just be messy and you would have to try and figure out how to get that particular bug, how to recreate it. So a good feedback will always include, it will be always be extremely detailed, explain how you can recreate that bug, and also what that particular bug is in a proper way and in which feature it occurred. So feedback normally focuses on blocks in usage and breaks for flows, and also prevents users today simply completing their previous flow. Right, let's keep it going. All right. So another thing is, so just say we got the feedback. So when we are developing an app, we can obviously have lots of bugs and lots of issues going on with the application. But that doesn't mean all the feedback we get is actually urgent. Because even a small UI issue can obviously affect the overall production review time of the feedback, or it might lead to a rejection part. It's always important that we fix the core features first. So normally we have a rating system for this type of issues. So we normally rate feedbacks into the app level, feature level, and screen level. So the app level is basically just the overall experience of the application, on with how it feels and how we use it, and the usability of the app. Whilst the feature level is whether a core functionality works. So it's basically whether a feature works in app. Say I have a healthcare app, again, look at the same example. A feature level issue would be whether the login system works or not. That would be a feature level issue. And then the next type of feedback is the screen level. So this is basically more towards navigation and the flow and whether it's actually understanding. Okay, say I want to log in and add an extra. Is it clear? So can I actually just log in, go to the login screen, log in, and then see add extra bar? That it should be extremely clear, because I shouldn't have to log in and then maybe go to a different tab and then again to another tab and then another tab and again another tab just to add an extra. It should be straightforward for the user to easily understand and navigate from one feature to another without there being many issues. And then obviously along with the functionality, testing must also include like app responsiveness, whether it freezes up all the time, whether there's some lags for for no reasons, and whether the app takes a long time to start. And it could fail whether there's a small delay in where your actions track or some. All these stuff must be handled efficiently. And an app that feels slow and silently fails normally feels broken to users. And this can actually affect your user base as well, because they may not want to use your application. Yeah. So just a random question. Who here knows what the cold start behavior is? Just put it down in the chats. Like, what do you think what cold start behavior is? Guys, just put it down in the chat. Or Ari says, yeah. So what I asked was, does anyone here know what cold start behavior is? Let's type below something from a remote fine. Mohammed, kind of like that. So basically, what cold start means is kind of a slow start, or if mostly this particular term is used in ML models where you would say for the model to initially load up, it will take some time. So it works efficiently, but for the first time, it might take a lot more time. It might take a longer time. So say normally for your model to load, it takes about 2 seconds or 3 seconds. But for the first time you load the model, it might take 5 seconds. The cold start is basically a slow start. That's what it refers to. So you shouldn't have that for your app. Yes, you're right, Bahar. Yes, that's exactly the meaning. So exactly. So your app shouldn't take about 20 minutes just for it to go from the splash screen to the home screen. That shouldn't happen. So that's also an extremely important thing to make sure is fixed for use and for production of the build. Minute, shall we go to the next screen? All right. So more into collecting the after. So this is what we have to do after collecting the feedback. So once you get the feedback, it should also be not only graded, it should also be grouped into whether it's a bug, uh, Oh, it's just very soon we have a question. About movie something to business investment. Yes, exactly. Yes, you're right. You're right, Bahar. That's a good observation. Right. So after collecting feedback, it mainly should be grouped into bugs, or whether it's a bug, crash, a UI or usability issue, a performance or stability problem, or it's a feature gap or a request from the tester. So what this basically, or why we do this, is because most of the time a UI issue is not as important or not as uh, urgent to be fixed as a broken flow. So it's like this. Your tester is, so say we have your app and you need to log in to use your application. So if the login button doesn't work, there's no way for a tester or a user to even use it. And say you have within the same app, there's an issue with the login screen where maybe instead of blue, it's black something. What issue would you fix first? Is it the color issue or the issue that stops a tester or a user from accessing the rest of the application? Just give me an answer in the chat. Is it yes? Stop user. Any other guesses? Right. Come on, guys. Just put your guesses in the chat. Anything? Yes. So Muhammad, Amha, and Bahar, you're all right. You need to fix the first issue, which is to ensure that the user or tester can actually access the rest of the app. Because a UI issue, all right, it's like this. Most UI issues, I'm not saying every UI issue, most UI issues have a lesser priority than, say, a workflow issue. It's because you need to ensure your app actually works for the testers to test out the best of the feature before you work on a particular design flaw. Because always the first priority when it comes to testing or developing should be to get your core functionality, so the core user flow correct before you work on any UI changes. UI or a design workflow, say whatever, it can be fixed later. It's always vital that we focus on the core flow. Because without the core flow, we can't even test the application. That can delay it. That's always vital. Then you have the performance stability issues and things like that. So, all right. So I've been talking about how you how you understand feedback, what are the types, how do you rate it, but how do you get feedback actually? So feedbacks are normally direct messages from testers. They're structured forms such as a Google form or Microsoft form. It really doesn't matter. And it can be in app feedback. So this is normally done through TestFlight. You can actually just take a screenshot once you're running that from TestFlight and send us feedback directly to the app itself. But not all feedback has equal importance. That's the important point. So you don't have to worry about the feedback part. So if you're going with the closed testing, our testers will provide you a document of all the feedback after using the application. So you don't have to worry about this particular part too much. Our testers will provide you with the feedback, and then all you have to do is just follow their advice, just see what features are broken and fix them. And then again, rinse and repeat. Okay, we have a question. We recommend to have a feedback for users. No, I would not recommend this, Bahar. So I get your question. Do you recommend to have a feedback box to use it like directly inside the app? It's like this. I won't want you to have it in a place like how do I say this? I won't want you to have it inside the app. Maybe you can have a section in settings or have a separate section in the profile. It is separate from the app as possible. So maybe somewhere like where you see the privacy policy, you can have like a contact us or just a feedback button on the side where the users can maybe email you an issue. Maybe if you can give them an email that they can send feedback to, it would be much better. But ideally, you won't need it because I think in the App Store itself as well, they can send feedback. So you can have it. Obviously, it's not an issue, but I would recommend for you to not have it in the main app itself. All right, we have another question from if there is an accessibility issue, like let's say our color palette isn't friendly for colorblind users, however, no one in our team has this issue, and so we might miss out on topic testing. Okay, okay. So basically, all right. So, all right, we have another question. So, if there is an accessibility issue, like let's say colorblind, so this is basically this question is about saving this out on a particular, because we said this, as humans, we are limited to our point of views. So I get your point. We are limited to our point of views. So for me, an app might look nice, but for someone who is actually deep into UI, they might be like, oh, this doesn't really look nice. This color palette doesn't match that. So for this particular issue, it's always best for us. Yes, exactly. Right. So for these type of issues, we can only do a limited amount of testing for this. Even though we have the 14 days to test, there's only limited amount of things we can test, if you get what I mean. So this is why we have two stages called private beta testing and public beta testing. So issues like what you said, it's always best for us to give it to the general public and see. Because we cannot test every single outcome. That's impossible for us to do human. So issues like this is mostly can be fixed through public beta testing, where we let the users outside actually test it and see. Our main focus is to work on the core function, ensure that works. And if there's any issues we might have missed out, we can always let the public let us know. I hope I answered your question. Is it all clear? Okay, we have another question from Amal. Will the testing feedback documentation be given at the end of the testing? No, so if you're going with the closed testing, you will need to send minimum of 2 updates. So I think after around 5 days after you start the closed testing, our team will send you a detailed feedback on the features that might be causing issues. And then based off that, you have to do the changes. So it's not done at the test. Yes.
Just
Yeah,
to come in, Juan, just to come in. Amal, good question. So basically, during the process of testing and feedback, you will have a close interaction where we will have not just documentation but also calls with us telling you, okay, this is what we feel on the production stage. This can have a challenge. So that will be a continuous documented, and you will have access to that.
Yes, Amal. I hope Fawaz was able to answer your question as well. Yeah, all right. So, all right, shall we move on to the next slide? All right, so we'll do this quick quiz and then we'll take a short break. So, let's think of this scenario. Let's take a e-commerce app as an example. These are the feedback requests received. Which one would you act on first? So I just want you to go to the phone and scan this QR code. All right. So the options that they give us is actually what the feedbacks are. So I just want you to say which one you act on first. Right. So a minute. Can we go to the next? All right. Again, all of us, everyone who answered the question has got it right. That's really nice to see. So the first option, bug, sometimes the orders take up to 10 seconds to confirm. So this would have been a good guess. But the only issue with this is the app technically works. So even though it is a bug, it does not stop the user flow for us from for to test the actual whether the backend works or not. the issue is it's a performance issue basically. So when comparing the rest of the features, although this is definitely an issue, it doesn't affect the user flow and it doesn't stop the tester or user from going for the rest of the application. So when it comes to an issue like this, we would prioritize this. But based on the rest of the particular options, I would not take this one first. The new feature, obviously, we need in testing, we always need to take over issues that we currently have and fix them before we move on to adding new features. Not an issue. I think I've explained this prior. So anyways, if a user flow is broken, you can't test the rest of the app, so you must always focus on issues like this. And UX improvement, again, the UI is important, but it's always best to make sure the core functionality works before we go forward with it. Thanks. Thank you for it's a good question and example. Yes, thank you. All right. So shall we just take a quick 5 minute break and we can reconvene? Oh wait. Before we go, I think we have one question. Hello, will we be doing the testing for us? Yes, we will be doing the testing and providing you with the testers. You don't have to worry about that. We can go through with your one-to-one.
Just coming in, Michelle. Good question. Thank you for bringing that question up. Yes, provide. We will give if you are on a on a Google Android developer account, which is requires a mandatory 14 days testing. You getting it within the timeline for the testing requirement. That's one of the reason we keep pushing you on the timelines, right? So we will provide you with a folder of 14 testers for the 14 days and a detailed feedback. And even during this feedback processes, we will get on call with you to make sure you publish whatever the required guidelines and fixes. But to make sure that you don't fall behind the time, so please be very conscious on the submissions and the timelines so that you are continuously eligible. More than the eligible, we always work towards this particular deadline to have your app published. So calculate this particular testing phase and we'll provide you with all the resources that would require. Yes.
All right, so guys, we'll reconvene in 5 minutes. Just have a quick break and go. All right, we have. Hi, Bahar. Did you have a question?
You
All
can take
good.
that. You can take that after the break, Tuan.
Yeah. All right. Right, guys, welcome back. Welcome back. I hope everyone is with us. Before we go ahead, I just want to ask, does anyone else have any questions? Please feel free to ask now. Does the 14 days start when the test is? Yes. So when it comes to Android particularly, the 14-day period starts once all 12 testers have enrolled into the um, testing track. Is that the last workshop? Lian, could you just reiterate what the question is? Bahar, yes, Bahar. If you go ahead with your question.
Yeah, hi Tom. Thank you very much for this great webinar. Very helpful. I saw a question on the chat about accessibility. Just wanted to ask about, do you recommend adding the kind of basic accessibility package or library? In my case, I use Flutter framework. I don't know others. So for any case, like to address the wider community, like specifically, I think someone asked here, Arish asked about blind
Yes,
users.
yes.
That's
Yeah.
why, like, what do you
All right,
think?
okay. Yes, so it's like this. When it comes to an initial publication and production review, they mainly test for the regular users in the sense, like, the general audience or general public. So when it comes to accessibility, that is an extremely important feature. I do agree with it. But initially, for the first MVP, you don't have to worry about it too much unless your app is revolving around, say, if it's an app that you build for colorblind individuals, then you will have to focus on that particular part of accessibility. Unless it is extremely, focused on that particular type of users, you don't have to focus on it for the MVP build. But afterwards, say from version 1.1 or 1.2, you definitely have the liberty because if you have this accessibility, it always opens up a new avenue of people. So that's always there. But for the first initial build, you can always just focus on a general audience and you won't face any issue. I hope I answered your question, Bahar.
Yeah, thank you. Just my app actually is for
Yeah.
persons for disabilities. Actually,
Yes, then you have
that's
to.
why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then you have to focus on them. Then you have
And
to focus on them.
just
Thank
to
you.
come into one,
Yeah.
Bahar, one more thing that you can also do is to make the Flutter respond to. There are different identifications and accessibility enablers for those specific approaches, because sometimes it requires authentication, and even like for the other audiences where you will have translations in different languages, even there are different approaches for these, especially on accessibility app. So I would like you to tell you to explore that a little more on Microsoft for accessibility, AWS for accessibility, any infrastructure you're using. Just look into the accessibility APIs that you can bring it forward. That might eradicate a whole long time process of developing something of your own. But when and where you identify more user different types, because one of the major challenge with any of these accessibility protocols or frameworks is, now we should, like, sometimes, as you said, person of disability, right? So there is different segment to it, different approaches to it. One is with, as Tuan said, can be even colorblind or different ability, hearing aid, or different approaches. So each of them has an intrinsic technology behind it, and there are most of it is pre-built. So we could be using of those. Yes. So back to you, Tuan.
Thank you so
All right.
much. Very, very clear. Thank you very much.
Sure. All right. Okay, we have one more question. After submitting the application for Android, is there a review period before trial starting? That's fine. Okay. So after submitting the application, you have to do the store listing. Once the store listing is sorted, you'll be starting with the closed testing track immediately afterwards. So there is no review period prior to that. There might be a small distance for the store listing, but other than that, there is no review period for the application then and there. It normally gets approved for closed listing immediately after you finish the store listing. Got that part. So onto the slides. So once the feedback is understood, it must be acted on systematically. So the correct flow to basically addressing a feedback is you first identify the issues, and then fix and verify changes that you made to the system to meet those or fix those critical issues, and then retest it to make sure that this particular issue does not happen again, or whether you actually fixed it or not. So, and issues must always be prioritized on impact it causes to the users. Like I said, if there's a user flow issue or a UI issue, it must always go for the user flow issue. So that actually impacts a user much more than it would a UI change or a UI issue. And then this and the readiness will launch as well. So again, it goes on the same umbrella. So it's always important that you prioritize these issues before you go ahead and fix it. 1 minute, shall we go to the next slide? All right, so before we start Android and iOS testing, I just want you all to give a rating from 1 to 5, 5 being you understand everything that was said up till this point, and 1 being I don't understand anything. So can I just get a small ingoing or at 5, 5? Let's go here, 2, 10, Muhammad, Rage, 4, that's fine. 5, Yamal, 5, Bahar. All right, that's good, that's good. All right, so I guess everyone is in 9 and everyone understands it. Up till now, that's good to see. All right, so shall we get started? Minute. All right, so Android testing. Android actually has multiple testing tracks. So we first have the internal testing. So this is basically where each developer tests it out. So say if you are the owner of the product, mostly you will test it out, and then you developers as well. So this is basically mostly inside the development process itself. And then we have the cross testing, which is an important part, especially if you have a personal Android account. This is basically where you have a team of 12 testers who will test your app continuously every day for 14 days. So this is extremely a vital part of the Android testing track, because each tester, each 12 testers have to log in and test your app for 14 days straight. Even if they miss 1 day or you only have 10 testers per particular day, it can get rejected or it will not be included, counted. So, right, we have a question from Bahar. Is it obligatory to commit open testing, and how is this? You do not need to commit to commit to open testing.
Yeah.
No,
Tuan,
no.
let me quickly take it up for that for you.
Yeah, sure.
Bahar, basically, if you really look at it, what is mandatory here is if you are not on an enterprise account and if your developer account is not old, your closed testing is mandatory here. Your internal and open testing is optional for better grooming. So for me, if I framework this into better for market, your internal testing and open testing is something that you do to make sure your product and vision is aligned. Close testing is something that you do so that your app is being approved by Google or the Android Google Play Store to be published. And then the production live on the store is as usual, that's going to be lively monitored. On the production onwards, once you are live, it's being actively monitored by Google on certain privacy policy changes and certain reflection where their store policy changes might be not compliance for the future version. They will notify you. So those particular testing will be throughout. So in summary, close testing is mandatory based on type of your developer account. The rest is completely you do to make sure that you really don't get rejected. Yes.
Yes, so yeah, thanks for us. I think I hope that answered your question, Bahar. So as far as mentioned, open testing is just basically for everyone, and the production is basically where we have the application live and up and running in the Google Play Store. So, Minette, can you go to the next slide? All right. So, permission requirements for testing. So, this is the basic setup that you need. First is you need to provide a valid app name, icon, and basic metadata. By metadata, this basically means such as a subtitle or the category that your app falls into, like that. And then you must second fill in the app content rating. So this might be the age rating. So normally most apps actually fall under the 4 plus. age rating. Unless you have something explicit, then it might go up to 17 or 18 plus, but most of the time it's 4 plus. And then you have the privacy policies. This is an extremely important part. And something I would like to point out is the privacy policy. You normally have to put it under show listings, but ideally it's always best as a best practice. It's always important to include this in the application itself. Maybe have a small section next to settings where you allow a user to view your privacy policy as well. This is always a good practice, and I recommend many of you actually follow this as well. So afterwards, you need to upload a signed AAB file. So this is what's mainly being used these days by Google themselves. They actually prefer the AAB file type to actually upload as a build to the system. And then closed and open testers will normally review your store listing. So please ensure that your store listing is accurate. This is what they'll be checking and testing out and seeing whether the app actually reflects what's in the store listing. Next slide. So this is basically the application file that you will be uploading. This is basically the file that you download as including your build. So basically, if you have a particular build that you develop, this is the file type that you do. Can you change the icon later on? Yes, you can change the icon later, but sorry, if you have already published the app, in order to change the icon, you will have to send out a new update. But if it's still under closed testing, you can definitely change the icon. There are no issues. But again, you'll have to set it as an internal version then. And in regards to using the application, an icon from a website, it's always, if you own that particular icon in that particular website, it's fine, else there might be a copyright issue. It's always good to check these things out. So internal testing when it comes to Android, it's normally fast and doesn't require review. And it's normally they are limited to internal users like developer or the founders themselves, as I mentioned earlier, and you can instantly review it after uploading the particular build or file. So it's mainly used for early builds and quick fixes. So this is normally done prior to close testing and is extremely optional. And as I said, there's no review, so it is optional. Next slide. All right. So there are a couple of requirements before you go for close testing and during close testing as well. So the first one is you need to have, this is a requirement, you need to have 12 or more testers opted in throughout the 14 days. And they must be testing your app every single day. But I want to reiterate, you do not have to worry about this, as we will be providing the 12 or more the 12 testers who will check your application each and every day till the closed testing period ends, and they will provide you detailed feedback in your one-to-one calls and as documentation for you to fix your app and update it. And as I mentioned earlier, as an application during this closed testing period, you need to push out minimum of 2 new updates. So this will normally be based on the feedback that the testers give you. If there are any issues with the application, you will be using feedback and you will be updating the application based off that and then sending it over for review again. So it'll be a rinse and repeat. We give you feedback, you update it you update the system, and then you again upload the build, and then we again review and test it and rinse and repeat. So when applying for production, the app must be MVP ready. You cannot upload an application for production review. But why 14 days in a row if I miss a day? No, it's mostly not continuous, as I was saying. So it's like this. It needs to be for 14 days. So this is a requirement from Google for the closed testing period, where you must have 12 testers testing your app for 14 days. So they'll actually check each and every day whether you've actually tested it for 14 days. It's a requirement from Google itself for the closed testing. Right. Do you mean version code? Yes. You'll need to upload 2 new builds as 2 different versions. Yes. All right. So when applying for production, you must ensure that it is MVP ready. It can't have any coming soon features. It can't have broken user flows. It can't have any issues that might stop a user from using it from point A to point B. So core features must be completed, no major bugs, and no crashes. That's very important. Right. Shall we then keep it going? So this is the basic structure or the roadmap for the 14-day flow. First, you upload a build to start the close testing track on the Google Play console. Second, you must provide test level access to the closed testing mentor. So if you have a mentor, please let them know you've prepared the build for closed testing, and they will inform the testers to get enrolled to your application. Then a minimum of 12 testers will be opted in by each mentor. Once that is sorted, the testing shall begin for 14 continuous days, where they'll give you a minimum of 2 feedback documentation based on the updates that you give them. And as I mentioned earlier, the developer must release at least 2 new versions to fix any issues. So you will get as many required feedback. No, Apple is different. I will be covering that after this. It's actually entirely different Apple. It's much less complicated, but I'll get into it, how that works. All right, so next slide. So how do you apply for production and unlock the production track once you're done with the close test? So on the 14th day, if all the testing was done neatly, we've done minimum of 2 updates, you actually get access to apply for production access. So your mentor will provide step-by-step guide on how to apply for this. So you don't have to worry about that. All you have to do is just submit the apply for production form as per the provided documentation by your mentor and wait for the Google Play review. So in normal cases, this production access normally takes 1 to 2 days, but it's always depends obviously on the particular load or the queue in the Google console. So it might take 3 days, but it normally gets approved in 1 to 2, as per my experience. So always make sure that your app is actually complete, because if it gets rejected, then again you have to repeat this procedure to make sure that everything is all working. And if it is all functioning, it will normally get approved in 2 days. So once it is approved, production track will be unlocked. So the first one was the production review or the production access. Once that's approved, then only you'll get access to the production track. And then your app can actually be submitted to the Play Store. So this is in regards to the production review. So a production access review. So in this, they normally test out whether the closed system was done properly. Once that's sorted, then only you'll get access to the production track. So it's 2 different things, but don't worry, your mentors will guide you through how both of them work. So once that's done, the standard Play Store review and policy checks will apply. They will again check through your app and see whether everything's good. Then you can apply for the final Play Store review. Next slide. All right. So I want you all to take out your phone and scan the QR code and answer this particular question. What is the main purpose of close testing before applying for production? All right, Minute, shall we go to the next slide? Right, see your answers. All right, that's nice. It's 17 of you all have got it right. 5 have got innovation. It's fine. So the answer is as shown. It is complete and reliable app. So the main purpose of cross testing is for our testers or overall testers test whether each functionality of the application is true and it works. I get why you're going for validation colleagues, but at the same time, the main focus of it is not for the testers to see whether it were like to give you validation. It's more on just checking whether the application actually works, the core functionalities are actually covered, and there are no coming soon screens, and everything just works from point A to point B. That's the main purpose of cross testing. It's for you to get the point of view of multiple people saying that yes, this app works and it is complete. All right, next, shall we go to the next slide? All right. So now we're getting into the iOS testing with TestFlight. Before we go ahead, any questions about the Android testing workflow? Any questions, guys? Just put it down in the chat. Give me a thumbs up if it's all clear. Yeah, it's nice. Right. That's good to see. That's good to see. All right. So again, I just want to get a rough count before we start with this. Can someone put a yes in the chat if you all are going forward with iOS deployment? So if you're going to upload your app to the iOS store, just say a yes in the chat so I can get a rough count. Katie, Rich, Singh, Mohammed, Michelle. All right, that's good to see. So we have a couple of hungry as well. All right. So iOS testing is actually entirely different from the way it works with Android. So the way it works for iOS is that we have this application called TestFlight. So iOS mainly uses TestFlight for the beta testing. And TestFlight has three important features. It allows internal testing without review, and external testing with review, and a controlled distribution. So you can keep track of most of the uploaded builds, install them for testing through the TestFlight app. So the TestFlight app actually allows us to do multiple things. As mentioned here, when it refers to internal testing, you can actually just upload your build to Apple Connect. So just like Google has its Play Console, Apple has Apple Connect, where you can go to their website, upload a build, and then you can give access to your friends or yourself to access it through TestFlight, and you can use it on your phone, just like that. So it allows you to develop your app and then give access to it on your phone so you can use it and check it out and see whether everything works. So, and the external testing with the review, this is basically when you upload or give your app, submit your app for production. Apple's testers also actually use TestFlight to actually test your application and see whether there are any issues. And it also gives you a controlled distribution as you are in charge in determining who has access to the application. As long it's at least till you upload it to the App Store. Till then, if it's in TestFlight, you get to control who has access to your application. So I'm gonna can go to the next slide. Right. So TestFlight best practices. So TestFlight has a lot of features, as I mentioned, but there are kind of a good list of usages for it. So when you are using TestFlight to test your application, there are a couple of things that you need to follow. First is clear build notes for what to test in the build. So before you test anything out or basically upload a build, it's always best for you to include credentials or include notes so that the tester knows what to test out. So obviously Apple gives you this option to something called test notes. So basically when you upload a build, it'll say enter a description on what the test has to test. So say you uploaded a feature for the first upload, that's right. No, well, technically the first upload. Yes, you can include all the features. That is true of it. So you can go forward with it. So the first build may have, yes, if your build has no login, then you do not need to provide credentials. The credentials are mainly required for if you have a login functionality or the user cannot access without logging in. So if you can't log in to test your application, you must provide demo credentials. That's when it's absolutely required. And in regards to the clear build notes, you must include basically the list of features you want the tester to fix. The tester to test and check it out. And then you must also monitor the tester feedback, because as I said earlier, TestFlight allows you to view and check out tester feedback directly from the app itself. So most builds or all builds actually expire after 90 days. So as long as you keep on updating the build before you upload it to the Apple Store, you need to ensure that one build does not last 90 days. That is extremely important because after 90 days, build will no longer work, or you cannot access it to test. Right, next, shall we go to the next slide? Right. So what's the review process like? So for Apple mainly, a review time will normally take 2 to 7 days and occasionally longer. So let me just give you all my point of view. Or based off my experience, Apple can actually take a long time for the first particular review. So say you're uploading app for the first time. So for the first build that you upload or the first build that you send for review, it can actually take up to 3 to 4 days. That is, yeah, so it can normally take up to 3 to 4 days, and that's excluding the weekend. So say if you upload on a Friday, you normally have to start counting from Monday, 3 days. So most likely you'll get a response by Wednesday. But once you get the first response, afterwards, Apple tends to respond within 24 hours. So it's always important to get your build out early as possible that you can easily, it's like this, even if your app gets rejected, you're more likely to get a response quicker than you were to get a response when you first upload the build. So it's always best to go or at least upload a build early as possible for review. And Apple compared to Google tend to be a lot more stricter when it comes to the compliance of their app content, privacy, and guidelines. So you must make sure that everything is straight to the point and relevant, or else there will be an issue. And you have to check the store listings, the screenshots, and descriptions, and app icons. And from personal experience, I would recommend you check out the screenshots because they tend to reject most applications because they have a strict policy on the screenshot that's included. It cannot be AI generated, or it cannot basically represent your Figma. It has to come from the app itself. It has to be a screenshot from the app itself. So be prepared for potential revisions and monitor your developer account actively because Apple does give you active feedback and review. They actually send you a detailed review on why they rejected it and everything. And the faster you respond, the faster they actually respond. So it's extremely vital you keep on checking your developer account for feedback from Apple. Right, next, can you go to the next slide? All right, so that's from me. Any questions before I hand it over to Fawaz? Are there any cases that some features show no bugs in other devices? All right. So yes, this is possible. So just a question. So it depends on the platform you're using. So if it's, let's say, an issue where you have two native applications, it will be a lot easier to fix. So say you have a Kotlin application for Android and then a Swift application for iOS, fixing the issue is extremely easy. But if it's a cross-platform framework such as Flutter or React Native, yeah, so Flutter. So if it is Flutter, it's always best to, because it's like this, in Flutter, you have the option to test out with simulators, right? So it's always best to test it out and see where the issue is occurring. Then you can obviously try and fix the issue from there. So you must always test out with these simulators and see what is causing the issue, and then check the runtime logs as well. And if you can pinpoint exactly where the issue is occurring, you can most likely be able to fix it because although these are cross-platform applications, the builds or the project packages are actually native to Android and iOS. So most likely you can fix it easily. All right. So if there's no other questions, would like to hand it over to Fawaz.
Thank you, Tuan. Thank you very much. Right. Hi, Tim. Back again. Before me start anything about production and launch, I have this one question for all of us, including myself. When we ever think about, okay, let's put a digital product, let's have a app coming into the market, we always focus about market viability. Okay, who is the developer? Who is going to develop all of it? But did you think there's so much of work behind getting the app launched in terms of technologically in a platform and keeping that sustained? Did you think there's so much work before starting this process or starting this competition? Or you think, no, I knew what I was getting into? Or it's like, no, there's more detail than we thought? Just put that in your comment. Where are you feeling? Because we had an idea, right? You had a pitch. You saw a problem and you came with a solution. Now that solution is becoming a reality. Now there's talking about a whole process of testing, review, publishing, app management, review management, distribution management, in what channels it's there. So did you think that there's so much of work, or is it the same as you thought, or is it no, you there's more than what you think? On chat, can I get some response? Okay. We knew we had our work cut out for it these days, but AI makes it so much easier. Lovely. Thank you, Arij. Mo, what do you think? Do you think there's more thing that you are learning here than what you thought? There's a lot work than we thought. Okay, Hamal, thank you. But don't worry, as I said, we are together as a team with your mentors, with all who's involved. We're going to make things better. I remember I was working on the holiday day night, but trust me, that gives you that confidence of you own the story, right? You really, really own the story. There are more preparations, I believe. Absolutely, Mohammed. So that's one of the things that we get these things in format of workshops and mentoring for you so that it's ahead of time. So store listing, you know that this testing coming, these particular details of creating your app developer account from publishing and then giving version controls. So we just wanted to make sure nothing is surprising you and so if I had knew this, I would have worked earlier. We don't want to put you there. We believe your idea is more crucial to be out there. I had no idea about the process, but I'm learning throughout the journey. Amal, trust me, we all are, and trust me, with a lot more with AI. And there's another one more workshop we are going to do about what is with the post launch and how do you manage things of scalability. Once you launch, how do you look at the technological scalability and what and how not? How do you get into the growth phase when there is an operations behind it? But now the hat is to get your app published so that you get a beautiful chance of explorative opportunity at the Dubai Future Foundation. Initially, I expected the app design and development phase to be the most challenging. However, I have come to realize the app listing process is significantly more time consuming than I originally estimated. Trust me, Aliza, it is. But you know what it makes? It also makes you an entrepreneur. From an idea to pitch to development, process of getting the compliances passed, that's production launch, right? That's where we are heading to. But trust me, when you connect multiple dots, when you have the hat of problem solver, when your app is solving a problem where you feel that it's helping people, you'll be able to do more wonders. And we are very, very happy to look at that's more realistically making things better for people out there. Right. Let's keep moving, Minat. I did it two times app bundle export. Beautiful. Lovely. Right. So production ready for readiness for MVP launch. Now, again, let's wear that mechanical, technical head, right? Very important to make sure our production readiness is where you think you work a lot of preparatory so that you don't want to have a rejection. So when you submit for production, to make sure it's get accepted. Polishing for production means ensuring the app is ready to be used by real users without breaking. Before the final production submission, we need to confirm two things. Core MVP features are fully implemented. So the primary problem that app solve works end to end without gas. Let's take it an example. For example, it can be an hailing app like Kareem, Uber, anything that you talk about, right? Now, if you look at business models, which we'll talk about the last workshops, but if you look at those business models, it has multiple technology behind. There is a driver, there is a merchant, there is food, there is delivery, there is passenger, there is tips, there is review, rating, and who can get access to what, right? All of is there, which is incorporated with different practices, compliances, and process, and for different stakeholders. But here, to make sure if you are hailing up on an MVP, somebody should be able to book a ride. You can be limited by geographical regions, you can be limited by number of vehicles or the type of vehicles. I know recently there was something called Pink Drive, which we were able to be part of it. Idea was a women-led drivers driving chauffeur services for women and kids, and they had a lot more security compliances where there is parents can monitor where the kid is going likewise and all of it, but it also had a lot of compliances challenges, but we were able to pass it through. That's where we always tell to make sure your MVP feature is simple and it's fully implemented. No blocker, bugs, crashes, or the exits. You can't have sudden crashes. Crash is the most important. You can think about crash as three things: crash, freeze, or stop. Sometimes it stop responding. Yeah, it's open, but you can't do anything. You close the app, but the phone is working. Sometimes it's freeze on certain process, like something loading or whatever, or it's crash and closes. Usually, this can be when you go for production. That's, as I always say, when you get in from a local environment to a cloud environment, when you get into the real environment, there can be configurational challenges, or sometimes the subscription package that you are into, certain subscription models that you have integrated would have overhauled the response times, or the tokens, for example, would have been expired. Can be anything. So it's very important to understand. So remember, core features implemented and there's no breaks. Right? Let's keep moving. And all major feedback from testing has been addressed. It should be addressed, and we will address, we'll ensure that we are addressing together. And most importantly, if there is any issues identified to be deferred or fixed, or even sometime if it is too challenging, you remove that feature for the first version of MVP to make sure that it doesn't impact the core feature. Maybe we remove it for the purpose of fighting this challenge, but always remember your flow has to be complete. And app behavior much matches the store listing claims. Now, what is the promise screenshot, description, deliver? And this works both ways, guys. Also builds the credibility, right? How descriptive you are, or what in within the framework. As Tuan said, you are not using a Figma, you're using a real screenshots, real app. And the easiest way to do this is if you have identified a competitor who has an app which is published, go check their store, read each word to word, then you will understand. It will give you a benchmark, right? And don't just rely on AI, just do your research there, because I want you to become visionary to it's your idea, right? Brilliant. Let's go next. Let's take your phone and let's have a small analytical quiz, right? Let's take a phone, scan it out. During the beta testing, your analytical shows crash rate is 1.5%. No major UI. What do you think the correct conclusion is? Here we get it loaded. Yes, the MVP is ready because the features are complete and crash rate is low. UI UX matters more than the crash rate. The app is not production ready due to the instability signals, or minor crashes are acceptable in the beta. Let's go ahead. Let's take some time, think, quiz, do it. Let's give it a little more time and we can go ahead and load. Let's go next minute. All right. Brilliant. Okay. I see if like app is not production ready due to the instability signals. The MVP is ready because the features are complete and the crash rate is low. Trust me, you can't, I mean, it's not that you are expected to achieve a 0% crash rate, but not like 5-6%, right? 1.5% is okay. And then to make sure, but most important is no major UX compliant, and all features are technically work end to end, right? It may not work for to get you the largest market share out there. It might not give you the attraction to pull your first million dirham investment out there, but technically it's working and it's production ready. Does make sense? Yes, tag. Okay. Right? Because sometimes MVP might not serve the purpose of yours beyond the seed funding. But we'll talk about it, how to make sure that your journey is supported with technically growth and how AI can help about it. That's once your app is published. We want to make sure that is helping you to do more once your app is published, right? Let's go. Let's keep going. So review reality before the launch is very simple. Yes, yes. App Store still reviews the stability, user experience, and compliance. I just want to touch a little bit about compliance, right? So this compliance is very interesting, and it's very evolving, right? And lately, I'm sure you would have heard about the European Union's AI Act, right? If you are to serve in a European Union as a market region, or much globally a different market region, there are compliances like global data protection regulation, and there is safety, and especially the health data, educational data, child safety, privacy of the child, and if you're especially working on the disability environment, the privacy of those kids and the medical data. So there's a lot more compliances than that we can think of. But what's good thing about it is not just because of technologically, the more you get this compliance ready, your market size increases, your credibility increases, you get into the grassroots of the stakeholdership of that industry. If you're on a med tech, if you're on a health tech, if you're on edu tech, if you're on advertainment, if you're on ed tech, anything. So the more the compliances you go and acquire compliances, it allows you to grow. And there are different standards like Triple B, Better Business Bureau, that is more for operational standards. I can see with a lot of app economy, there's more compliances are coming as a very basics. Earlier, it used to be a luxury of market. It's becoming basic because there's a lot more app can be done in AI and all of it. So they are increasing that bar of compliances. So it's very important not just to go acquire a compliance and tick it off, but to comprehend, fathom, and understand what these compliances are for you, for your app and the business, so that your decision making will be beautiful and you will grow in the market. And unstable app phase will definitely face delays in approval also. Although they say 1 to 3 days, 5 to 6 days of standard review times, there can be delays if you have these issues. And definitely it may also get into rejection, which can also reflect the timeline of your eligibility and what timelines you are working towards. The last one is imagine it's also a poor first impression. But the poor first impression, does it really reflect if your rejections are overcoming and if you keep moving, that's completely okay. It doesn't, it's not your crib score. It's not your credit score. Your poor first impression is not that you can't change, but better to avoid. And even for some time for self-motivation purpose that, hey, we didn't get rejected, we got a feedback and good. But trust me, rejection makes you better also, right? It makes it beautiful also. But let's make sure that we are conscious about it. Let's keep going. Right. So the key takeaways is sometime when you think your APK, when you download and work, it works on it. Yes. With support on it and sorry, yes. When you have this APK that you download and you test it, it might be working on your mobile phone, but doesn't mean it's production ready. You should have gone through these 14 days or test flight or the review based on your platform of choice that you have made, and also gone through the store compliances, store listings, screenshots, and all of it, which means production ready. So let's put that in a clear approach. Just because you have developed an app and there is a working APK file out there, you can download to your mobile on your local version or just send a link and install and it's working fine, doesn't mean it's production ready, right? That should be your most important takeaway. Test before the users and the store exposes issues. It's most important, you should consider, it's like imagine you are in a supermarket and you have a store in the supermarket and that's your business that you conduct. Imagine you keep having a problem with your conduct and the supermarket owners or the management authorities. It's not going to be good, yeah? I mean, does it going to help? If you are if you have a beautiful store inside, let's say if you have a store in Dubai Mall, right? If we have compliances issue, the way we take visitors or the way we exhibit our business, if we keep having compliances issue, what it will reflect on? Is it good? Some yes, no. Some yes and no. Or is it a good fight? The team? Nope, not good. Okay. Thank you. I just need that confirmation. So same way, think about your Google Play Store as your supermarket or whatever you the rented place or where your business is. So have to make sure we limit the issues or rejection compliances. We are always ahead of time is going to make things better also because it's an AI audit going on. So every action matters. Number of rejection, number of delays, number of compliances challenges you face can may or during the time and like over the period of time it might result in taking it down. So make sure that's taken very seriously. And core flows and stability is the most important for MVP. And UX issues, crashes, we talked about it. Testing is continuous and also validate the reliability and make sure that it's usefulness. And we will make sure when you are getting into the testing phase, our feedbacks are clear and actionable. We don't want to give you philosophical feedbacks. Hey, you know what? The user experience could be better. But what is the definition of better? Is the button can be down or is it up? Is it this feature? So the same way, we need to have actionable feedback. Even if you're getting with your developers, sometimes we get into that particular philosophical dilemma. I know this is not right, but I also don't know what is right. So that's where we need to draw lines to be actionable. And importantly, that's the innovator's challenge. Trust me, we get in there. I know something is not there. My gut doesn't say, but what does it say? So in there, we just remove the hat, put a fencing. Hey guys, let's get to the functionality. Let's get it working, and then we'll iterate this for better approach. And fix the blockers first, as I said. Whatever right in front of your eyes, which may become a blocker, fix it. And then you can always improve later. Imagine the number of updates that Facebook has given, Uber has given, Kareem has given, any other app that you're using, number of updates that you get in a weekly or a monthly basis. So it doesn't matter. Keep improving. It's a dynamic market, right? It's an app economy, is not static. It's a dynamic market. And start with private beta and get on with that. Yes, absolutely. Let's keep moving. And Android tracks after the launch. So just a few things. Yeah, close testing is mandatory for the personal account. 14 days is a requirement. And production readiness and stable. Store review stability and test continues even after launch. Right? App is something that you are being. Never something is complete. You're completely being tested and iterated. Let's keep moving, Milan. So submission for this week is very personalized, which is assigned for each team, because I know some of you are at finalizing your creation of APK, some of you have started with the testing, some of them are working on your app stores, Play Store, some of you are still having a little bit of challenge with your development environment. So it's personalized, but trust me, we are going to achieve the goal, collectively have this published. That is assured, and we are together. We are not alone. Let's keep moving. Okay, so before we get on to the final workshop announcement and all of it, would like to understand, is there any questions? Do you have any, like, not a fear, but a phobia of, hey, I know this, there's a challenge that I face, but I will figure it out, or anything that you have that you want to raise it. But please make sure you have your on-demand support calls also available, not only your mandatory calls. Please make sure you interact with your mentors and make any time slots available for you technologically, technically you're facing. Sometimes you got to ask for you to get it, but we'll be very conscious to make sure that we are very aware of your process and progress, but let's make this collectively working. Right, any questions? No? Okay, how clear and confident are we on getting this done on 1 to 5? 5 being the most confident, 1 being the not. Oh, wow. Hamela, 6. Camila, 5. Thank you, Reem. Thank you, Tang. Thank you. That's like the pi, right? 3.1415. Am I right? Yeah? Okay. Mohammed, okay, 10. And Bahar, 5. Dominic, thank you very much. 100 verse. Oh, thank you. um, I mean, trying to be logical, thing. Thank you. But yeah, beautiful. Thank you. So, team, we are on this journey together. Again, let me iterate. Production readiness is not just technologically. I think you need to have that tap your shoulder as an entrepreneurially. You are getting this done. Somewhere, an idea which was on a deck presentation or on a framework is right now somebody else can download it, right? That's the satisfaction of production readiness, right? I want all of you to feel that, enjoy that. It can be challenging, yes, holiday working, exhausting nights, but trust me, it's all worth it when you complete that experience, right? And we will see you on the final workshop, which is about scaling beyond. So you have in between almost 2 weeks in between to get all of this done. Are we going to rest in 2 weeks? No, it's all personalized. We're going to get on this particular approach to make sure that we have this published. Doesn't make what it takes to make it happen. And we'll see you on 7th of April on the same time at 3 p.m. GST to connect back and keep going. And let's move next minute. So, Carmen, over to you if there's anything to be added. But team, if there's any questions, all open with the questions. Amal, yes, thank you. But keep going, keep going. After I see you have given 4, but trust me, we'll get it 5 over the next couple of weeks. Thank you, Bahar. Thank you. Thank you, Tuan. Thank you for Tuan being there for you. And I'm sure you are interacting with Minat, Tuan, Taruka, Imza. Some of them anyway are one of your mentors. So keep going, get your ideas, getting there. All right. Okay. So, Carmen, if you're there. Okay. Until we get there, we anyway have a few more minutes. Thank you for the information. Looking for complete task. Yes, Camilo, the app. All right. Beautiful. So,
I'm here.
yeah, sorry. I
It's
was just,
just
we're ahead of a time for a few minutes because
I
yeah, yeah.
can you yeah, I'm here, but I have the screen there. So I
Okay.
couldn't find it to open my mic and camera and everything again.
No problem.
Okay, so I think that if nobody else has a question, I think that everything is fine. Next week we have a tiny break. So in the sense that there will not be a workshop, as already mentioned. So please take advantage to have your mandatory mentoring sessions, but as well there are optional. So I really encourage everyone because it's a massive opportunity for all of you to have access of a tech team full of experts dedicated to support you to launch your MVP. So please, please don't waste this wonderful opportunity because they are here to support you and hold your hand all the way long. That's it. Catch up. If some of you are a little bit behind, just catch up. Next week, take advantage of that we will not have a workshop, and we will see you on the following week for the workshop 5. So that's it. Thank you very much to all of you for joining us today. And thank you, Minette, Tuan, and Fawaz, as always, for being here supporting the founders. That's it. Thank you all.
Join me on this incredible journey. Until next time, happy learning.